Welcome to the next lesson. I'm here in San Diego, my vacation spot, and I want to talk about one of the most central themes to everything you're going to be doing to acquire clients. So, there's different people that are going to approach your clients. They might have already in the past and they'll be there in the future, and they'll tell your clients, hey, we can do internet marketing for you, we can do this type of marketing. What's going to differentiate you, number one, being certified through this program and knowing all kinds of little ninja tricks. But even more importantly, you're going to have one central skill, one central approach to marketing, which is very, very unique. And I call that I call that brand storytelling. Brand storytelling. So write that down. Your specialty, your absolute specialty is brand storytelling. Now, you won't always just go to your customers and say, hey, you know what I can do for you? Brand storytelling. They won't understand that. This is more of an internal message that you keep in the back of your mind. And let me give you an example of what I mean by that. I was looking on Snapchat, I was looking at Taco Bell, and MTV, and some of the Snapchats of big brands like that. And they're really bad, to be blunt, not trying to offend those companies, but they're just not done well. And when you look at it and dissect it, what's really wrong is there's no storyline. Okay? So, one of the things that you're going to learn in this program, and one of the things that's allowed me to be able to create businesses using social media, is that I learned long ago that the human brain doesn't learn by facts. Remember when you're in school and it's like the War of 1812 was 1812 and the Civil War was 1860 to 1864, and all these specific like factual ways of remembering. And most people, once they get out of junior high, high school, college, they never remember anything. Why? Because it was told to them in a way of facts. But think about some movies you've seen that are about history, stories where you actually got involved with the characters. You actually There was suspense, there was the unknown, there was love, there was romance, there was amusement, there was beauty, there was drama. And then at the end, you really know that story. There's this TV show you might have seen called, I think it's called Vikings or something like that. And there's a million textbooks about the Vikings, but this one TV show has educated more people about the history of the Vikings than anything. A lot of people get their history from things that they saw on TV, whether it's, the, what's Zach's favorite, my buddy Zach, he loves the movie Braveheart, and he knows a lot about that time in history from that movie. So what you're going to do for your customers, because you got to bring results or they're going to stop paying you. So the idea is you get customers to pay you from $1,000 to $10,000 a month, because you're really good at bringing them business. You got to bring them business, because if they see money coming in their door, they're going to be willing to pay you. So the overall scheme, when you're managing their Twitter, when you're managing their Instagram, when you're managing their Snapchat, when you're doing Google PPC marketing, you'll be learning what that is, paid advertising. When you're doing Twitter boosted posts, Facebook boosted posts, Facebook Live, when you're doing email marketing for them, you're going to be weaving a story. So one of the pieces of homework that I have for you over this program length, over these multiple months, is to start watching more movies, good movies. You can do it like me. I like to go to the theaters, but you can also do it on Netflix on your phone or laptop or whatever. But find, top rated movies. If you're not sure which ones to watch, you can watch ones that won Academy Awards for Best Picture. And I would watch, start back movies 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago and move forward, or do the opposite. Start with movies that won last year's Academy Awards and just go backwards. But you're going to watch these movies a little differently than you have before. I want you to watch them with the perspective of understanding the story. Now you might say, what does a movie storyline have to do with owning a social media marketing agency and doing marketing for customers? Well, it has everything to do with it. So let me give you some of the elements of a story that you're going to create for your customers with their Twitter, with their social media, with their email, all part of one story. So number one thing is it needs to have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Now that sounds very obvious, but I'm pretty advanced at this and I still think that way. When I'm creating my social media marketing for different businesses I go beginning, middle, end. Now let's break those down. What do you need at the beginning? When you're doing marketing for your customers, the beginning has to be what's called a hook. So write that down. The beginning is primarily composed of the hook. In movies like Star Wars, Return of the Jedi, George Lucas, in the very opening parts of that movie where they're with Jabba the Hutt, it's this whole huge action scene at the very beginning of the movie. If you've ever seen the movie Indiana Jones by Steven Spielberg, very beginning of the movie, Indiana Jones is in the cave, and it's so if you just walk in that movie, you're hooked. You're like, wow, this is awesome right away. Now you might have seen my marketing, like my here in my garage video, which went viral, got millions, hundreds of millions of views, and got parodies, and kind of became a viral sensation around the world. The hook there is the initial attention grabber is, that I'm talking about getting a new Lamborghini. A lot of people, if you're like me growing up, it was like, oh, one day I'd love to get a Lamborghini. So it's attention grabbing. Now, by the way, this lesson is just the overview. We're going to be breaking this down over these 4 months, and you can get better and better. But I wanted you to have an overall video. So I'm going to give you the overview. It's called the hook. And we'll talk later on how to create hooks for your customers and all that kind of stuff. Sometimes you'll hear it in marketing terminology as headlines, headers, taglines, slogans, all these kind of things. But let's say you have a client who owns a restaurant, or they own an auto dealership, or they're a doctor or a dentist. You have to interrupt their customers and make their customers pay attention to the story you're about to tell. And a lot of marketing, if you go on most websites, there's no story, including no good hook. So when I look at, if you look at Taco Bell Snapchat, or if you look at like MTV's, it's just like all randomness. There's no anticipation, a beginning, there's no hook. It just starts right into it. So you want to not do that. You want to do it right. So the second part is you're going to have the middle, beginning, middle, and end. The middle is sometimes called the plot. Now, what does a good plot need? A good plot, one of the most important things, it needs a little drama. It needs a little mystery. It needs a little suspense. So going back to my Here in My Garage video, it starts out with a hook, the beginning. Then the middle, the plot was I was talking about, it's not really a video about cars. It's a video about, or books. It's a video about how knowing stuff, how knowledge that I learned from mentors allowed me to live a different lifestyle. And so that's the plot. And it's a little, people are like, what? Because I show a Lamborghini and then I show books. And people are like, what is that? What is Ty doing? If you've never seen the video, you can go to my YouTube and just search by most viewed videos. It's at the top. And all of a sudden it's me talking about Lamborghini, and then it's saying, but what I like more than Lamborghini is a book. All these books, these 8 bookshelves I had installed. Well, guess what? That's a little bit mysterious to people, a little intriguing. It creates a little drama, and it creates a plot. Okay? And there's a lot more to this, but this is a good way to remember it. Then the last thing at the end of the stories that you create for your customers, guess what? You want to have resolution. The end is all about the resolution. A good movie, a good advertisement, it needs something to feel fulfilled. Usually for your customers, what you want to do is that's the point where you have your customers, you have your clients' customers actually take an action. So let's say, for example, you have a client who's paying you $1,000 to $10,000 a month. They're a cosmetic surgeon. Okay, their website, most cosmetic surgeon website, in fact, most businesses' website will have stupid stuff like you land on it and right away it says, enter your email address or fill out a form so we can talk to you. Well, that's starting with the end. You can't start with the end. You have to start with the beginning and the middle of the end, and then you do the end last. Now, some people say, but Ty, if on the front of the web page or in the front of my social media marketing I'm doing for my customers, I don't start out with, the end result, the action I want their customers to take for them. What if people leave the website? Well, that's going to happen anyway. So you're going to have a drop off. So you don't have to worry that if you start a video for your customers, if you create a Snapchat store, if you create an Instagram, that doesn't always start with the beginning. I mean, it doesn't start always with the action you want the customer to take, that there's anything wrong. It's okay that your marketing doesn't always get 100% of people who visit the website to actually take action. So you've got this customer, we'll call Bob. He's a plastic surgeon. You're going to be generating leads for him, people that will come to his office. So on the website, what you need is a hook. Something that when people visit the website, they're interrupted. Like, it could be a fact. It could be like, did you know that for under $3,000, most people can solve the physical problems they've been insecure about their whole life? I don't know if that's a perfect hook, but it's kind of when you land on the page, you're like, because a lot of people have physical insecurities. So that's like a hook. Then you could tell a story, which is the plot in the middle. So this could be maybe a video that you create that you put on the plastic surgeon Bob's website. Then you cut into an actual story with characters. The plot needs characters. So you're like, Susie was a real customer that came to me. In, third grade, she started getting made fun of because of, I don't know, a mole on her face. And it got worse. At 16 years old, she hardly wanted to go out. And you could have some video of that customer, past customer of the plastic surgeon, actually telling their story and talking. And then, so you're building up this like plot and this drama that people can, those customers coming to that website can go, wow, I connect with this. And then at the end you say, now, Bob, the plastic surgeon, has spent 20 years mastering the skill, and he can do this for you. So he's created a simple form on the website below that you fill out. You put in what your biggest insecurity is, and we will get back with you the minimum cost we think it will cost to fix, whether it's remove the mole or whatever other issues you might have. See, that's a simple thing. Remember, it doesn't have to be complicated. Always keep it simple. But at the same time, it shouldn't just start by saying fill out a form, because you haven't told the story yet. Now, I'm going to walk inside with this. It's starting to get dark. You can notice I do all these videos impromptu. That's just kind of my style. So they're still professional. But so the next thing that you have to know is what you're going to do this not just on their website, but you're going to do this on their Twitter, their Instagram, their Facebook Live. I'm gonna sit right here. And I can just tell you this. This stuff really works. So what I mean is you're gonna start seeing results. Your customers are gonna see results. If you had a plastic surgeon, that plastic surgeon is gonna be blown away. I'm gonna sit back here by this library. Books. One of my favorite backdrops here. So by telling a story, you can trust me. I can confidently tell you that their customers who visit their website are going to respond well to this. And if they haven't been doing this, which most people haven't been doing, turn that light on there. All of a sudden their website's going to go from generating, 5 clients a month to like 10 or 15. And you're going to be able to take the credit for that and say, Bob, this is why you pay me $1,000 a month or 5,000 or 10,000. Also, the more results you get, the more you can convince your customers to upgrade. Because one of the things you're going to learn in this program is to have various price ranges. So you won't always just be charging $1,000. Move to my light here. There we go. So you'll be able to say, you've been on my $1,000 package. I got you 3 new clients. That's worth 30 grand. I think I can do even better if you go into one of my premium programs. And so you could put them into a $2,500 or $5,000 package. And so results really matter. And you're over time, I'm excited for you. Over these 4 months, you're going to become a master of telling stories for your customers through social media and internet type marketing. Just keep in mind a few principles that kind of go along with this. So write this down. These are kind of extra ninja bonus stuff. I'm going to give you a little advanced stuff. I don't want to overwhelm you, but the most important thing that one of my mentors in marketing told me is a word called congruency. Congruency. What does congruency mean? It basically means tell the same story for your customers on all their platforms. So website, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, YouTube, whatever you're doing, have consistent messages. So if the story you're telling, for example, in this hypothetical customer, Bob, plastic surgeon, is that he helps people deal with insecurities, then on their Twitter, post articles about insecurities. Because that's going to bolster the story that you're telling on their website. And when you do Facebook, same thing. And Snapchat. Now, it doesn't mean every single post has to be exactly the same, but that needs to be kind of the overall message and story that you're telling for this surgeon. You're telling a story of, how they are, their main benefit to customers is getting rid of physical insecurities that people have, as opposed to just being a plastic surgeon or a cosmetic surgeon. By rebranding with a better story, it becomes very powerful and very effective very quickly. Let's take some other hypothetical industries you might be going after. You might be going after restaurants. Restaurants are relatively easy to tell a story because a lot of them are mom and pop shops. Find out the story. Did they immigrate from Italy and open a pizzeria? And tell that story. Get a hook. Say, maybe their websites would say, have you ever had pizza where the recipe comes from an original recipe comes from Rome or, I don't know, Palermo or something like that in Italy? Find out where the owner's from. Then you create the plot. And you're like, years ago, Giuseppe and Susie, well, I don't know, I'm trying to think, what's an Italian female name? Came from Palermo, and their grandmother had handed them a recipe on her deathbed and said this was the family recipe that's been passed from generation to generation. And then you talk about it, and so they got on a boat and came to Ellis Island in 1935, and they started with one store and now they've expanded, but they've always kept the recipe. And then you have this end. So that was the middle. You had some characters like name the grandmother, like grandmother Louise. She had handed this to Bob on her deathbed and all that. So you're actually naming names. By the way, that's the thing you'll learn later. Characters, and then you got the plot, and they opened a store and it almost went bankrupt in New York because people weren't used to fresh herbs and spices and blah blah blah. And then you have the end, and you say, and the restaurant and the owners are so excited to pass on their grandma's recipe to you that right here on the website, if you use this coupon code in the next 24 hours, you get one pizza free or something like that. So you create an ending call to action. That's called a CTA, an action point that their customers are going to take on their website or on their Twitter or on their Facebook book. That usually means you're going to ask them to buy something from your customers, or you're going to ask them to fill out a form or something like that. Depends on the type of customers. So that's a restaurant story you can tell. Real estate agents. Maybe you're going to help some real estate agents. Same thing. Most real estate agents, it's hard for the public to differentiate why one is better than the other. So you need to have an opening hook. Let's say, Jennifer is the name of the real estate customer you have. She's a real estate agent. She helps people buy homes. She comes to you and says she'll pay you $1,000 to $10,000 a month. You show her the different contracts. You get her to sign a $1,000 contract. You said, let's tell a story about you. Let's create a website. Let's make sure your website has an email form on it. Let's make sure it has a good welcoming video. Let's create a brand story for you. And so you maybe would say, Susie grew up in the inner city and she never had a home. She lived in a rundown apartment, and with a single mom, and one of her dreams in life was to help people have the gift of having their own home. And so when she graduated in high school, she went out, she became a realtor, and she trained under, you know, Susie, the master real estate agent. So she built competency, and she began to specialize in single family homes in the suburbs between the range of $100,000 and $200,000. And so notice how I'm using details and I'm creating a niche. That's what you're going to do for your customers. Most customers of yours are too broad. If they own a pizza store, if they own a cosmetic surgery, if they're realtors, they're going too broad for their customers. It's better to go specific. I know I know a mortgage broker in Texas, and he wasn't making much money until he figured out how to go niche. He hired a consultant and said, "Why don't you just focus on people getting divorced, because they need to usually refinance the house when they get divorced." And so that's all his specialty is. So just like I'm teaching you to specialize to find your customers, you're going to teach your customers to specialize so that they don't go too broad. Like the pizza place, you know, you want to tell a story. Maybe they appeal mostly to college kids or older people who are more food connoisseurs. Maybe the cosmetic surgeon is more people who don't like their nose or don't like skin, you know, and maybe the whole website becomes about fixing skin issues. And it can say, and we also do other stuff, but you need that core story that's very congruent, it's very consistent, and that's going to help them get customers. Another example, so we talked about realtors, just kind of brainstorming here with you so that no matter what industry and niche you decide to go into with your social media marketing agency, that you understand it's not that hard to come up with stories. Remember, you only need, you know, 1 to 10 clients to be creating a 6-figure income for yourself. So you don't have to do this every single day. I've done this a while, so I can quickly think of brand stories to tell if somebody asks me to, but it might take you a little longer to do it. Don't feel discouraged. You know, you only need to really acquire 1 new client a month, and after a year, you know, you've got, depending on how long you can keep them, you've got 1 to 10 customers paying you money, and that would be a 6-figure revenue track right there. Now, what I want to do in this lesson, I want you to leave a comment below, okay? And I want you to remember we said we're going to practice on ourselves, okay? That's how you learn to open a social media marketing agency. You pretend you're the first customer. So you got your social media agency. You're the first customer. I want you to write below a paragraph, which is your story. Now, you've heard my brand story. You know that I was sleeping on a couch in a mobile home with $47 in my bank account, and how I was able to use books and mentors and learning to change my life and income and eventually get a Lamborghini. That was my brand story. It was nice and simple. It had a beginning hook, being broke, $47. It had specific details. You know, I always tell people it's in Clayton, North Carolina. Make sure all the facts are true. Mine were true. Make sure for your customers you always tell true facts. But I weaved it together into a story. And then at the end I said, and I learned 67 principles from these mentors, and I want to share those with you. Here's a link below if you want to buy my 67 Steps program. So I want you to write your brand story as if you're your first customer. Let's do that below, okay? Take some time for this. If it takes you an hour, if you can't think of it all today and you need 2 days, that's okay. You must be able to tell your own brand story before you can tell anybody else's. So just tell your story with a beginning, something. Remember, it doesn't have to be in chronological order, your story. So you don't have to start out and say, when I was born or something. That's not what I mean by beginning. Beginning hook. The most eye-catching part of your life, the most eye-catching event, the most attention-grabbing and disrupting moment in your life, a crossroads event. Then make sure you talk below, write a little bit about the characters, the drama, the suspense, the mystery of not knowing how things were going to go, and then have an outcome to it and where you are now and what you'd like somebody who's hearing your story to do now. You want them to take an action. It could be follow you on your social media. It could be buy something from you. It could be send you an email with their thoughts. Okay? So that's, make sure you fill out this homework. Each lesson has these assignments. You must complete these in order to get the certification. Okay? So remember, my cousin's a professional soccer player, and she says her best advice she ever got from a coach is you get out what you put in. So make sure you put in real thought if you want to get a viable business in place that can take care of you for years to come. Okay? Thanks so much. Talk to you soon.